Hello, this is Matter of Interpretation Americans in Crisis with your teen host, Sydney Tucker. And today we're talking about an important issue, very common. But first, I'd like to say a prayer before we get started. Dear Lord, thank you for this day and letting us be here today. Lead, guide, and direct us in our conversation. Whatever you have us to say, let us affect the audience. Let us impact the audience with our information and our knowledge. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, so we have a guest today, Casey. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. I'm Casey. I'm a sophomore. I'm 14 at Manual.
Okay. So today we're talking about JUULing. JUULing is basically like a trend. It's a whole trend right now with many views. So Casey, can you first explain JUULing for the audience? What is JUULing? What is the process? Is it easily accessible? Just the view.
JUULing is basically like it's an electronic cigarette, and it's kind of off of what electronic cigarettes were supposed to be in the first place, because they were made like many years ago to help people who were smoking to get off of that, and to like, it's not good for your health, but it's a lot better for your health than smoking a cigarette. So they started to make this product for people as like a way to quit, basically. So like you would go from a cigarette and then to what they call it like e-cig, and then you would find your way off of that to nothing, and like you were clean and you don't smoke anything anymore. But then the brand JUUL was made, which is kind of a different type of a lot cheaper, a lot more easily accessible electronic cigarette, basically. And it started to get into the hands of teens and become a trend, and has blown up to the point where it is now, where honestly a lot of teenagers have JUULs and a lot of them use them, and that's where we are now.
Okay. Well, do you choose to do or pursue JUULing?
No, I don't personally, just
Okay.
For my own personal health. And
Yeah.
I'm a runner, so I don't want to
Yeah,
get
doing
involved
track
with
and everything,
that,
definitely. You need to
Yeah,
be aware of those things, yeah.
I like my lungs. And
Yes.
I don't want to get
Very
involved.
friendly by
Also,
lungs,
it's illegal. Like, if I'm underage to vape or JUUL or anything, so I don't choose to pursue that.
Okay, cool. And although you don't pursue, are you against others JUUling? Or maybe even for them? I have no idea. It's up to you.
I don't want to say I'm like against or for it, just because I have a lot of friends that do it, so I'm used to being around it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if I'm around people who are choosing to vape, I'm not gonna like walk up and take it from, like I'm not gonna choose to.
You're not gonna lecture them? Or...
No, because it's just something that's not my choice for them. Like, I don't get to choose what they do. I don't encourage my friends to do it. I tell any of my friends that do it that I'm not interested and I don't want to be offered, just because I don't want to do it personally. But I would never like tell my friends what to do. If they're doing it, I'm not gonna go like, I guess, snitch on them or whatever. That's just not my place.
Okay.
So I just choose not. I just I'm indifferent towards it with my friends.
Okay, got it. So, of course, we need to talk about the nicotine. They're very fruity, the JUULs are, but I feel, which is why I feel that people are so attracted to them. They're marketed as health products because of the flavoring, but actually, there's no health benefits to this. It's actually hurting people's health and their lungs and everything. And I don't understand how that even, but okay. But let's get back to, of course, JUULing is a big thing. And of course, e-cigarettes were too. And so some experts say that they're popular and the youth are using them because of the fruitiness and hiding that the nicotine smell or just the aroma from their parents by concealing it with fruity aroma. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I understand.
And just having that into their system. So, do you agree or have any reasons for why they would JUUL?
I think a lot of teenagers today are JUUling because, like, obviously, like, separating JUUling from vaping, like, JUUling specifically, like, that specific product, because it has become a big trend on looking cool. Like, it is, if you do it, like, apparently, like, that just makes you cooler, or, like, I don't want to say more popular, it's just something that everyone's doing it. It's like, why
So
would
it's
we
not
do it?
seen
You
as
know
a
what I
big
mean?
deal?
No, yeah, exactly. It's just not seen as a big deal, and especially like how you were saying with the fruity flavors and stuff, it just makes, I don't think that's the reason people do it, but having the different flavors and having stuff like that, like if you're smoking a cigarette, that is a huge smell, you know what I mean? Like it has like a huge odor that does not smell good at all. And with a JUUL and also with vapes, but that's more of a like, it goes away very quick. It's either like fruity or like mint or whatever flavors they have. And that kind of like goes into the air and it's gone like within seconds. So it's like, I guess that makes it easier to do like at school or at a party, because the smell doesn't stay there as long as the cigarette, it doesn't get on your clothes, anything like that. So that definitely makes it easier.
Yeah, so it's easier, and of course the social pressure, and not even pressure, that it's just so common that you just kind of, it's not a big deal. Okay, so of course, talking on peer pressure, social pressure, do you, well of course you know people that JUUL, but just out of consideration, do you see any adults JUUling? That JUUL?
I'm sure there are. I don't know anyone personally that JUULs. My father vapes, and that's because he used to smoke, and so like he uses like an e-cigarette, like one of the more like expensive like original ones, to like get off of smoking. But JUUling, I really think, has taken over more of the like teenage, like the youth type thing, and that's not getting off smoking, that's just starting up something different. Yeah,
because the research that I've done is like, I know it's mostly like at least youth right now that's, hey, like JUUling is the thing, but for my personal concern, I'm like, there's not only youth, there's adults as well. So just,
I'm sure.
just to get it, because people are just saying youth, and it's not really all youth. But do you feel that peer pressure and having the environment having that type of environment can cause someone to JUUL, or at least be more likely to JUUL? Especially from your experience, I want to hear this. So.
If you're surrounded by it, of course, like, if you're never around it, you're never going to be exposed to it, never going to want to do it. And especially with how, like, social environment, especially of, like, I'm a sophomore, so high school, like mid-high school, everyone's still figuring themselves out, and everyone, you know, a lot of people are like wanting to look cool and wanting people to like them and worrying about their image and stuff like that. And JUULing has really taken over as a way to get you involved with that. It's like, you know, you're at a party and someone comes up and is like, hey, like hit this or whatever, which is like the term. And they do it and it's like, hey, like that's cool, you know what I mean? But then you get one and then you get addicted, and that's where it becomes a problem for your health.
Okay. But, and of course, like someone can up to you say hit this. But for social media wise, do you feel that could play a big role when it comes to JUUling?
Social media, especially because of it being, we're underage, a lot of people try to stay away from posting it on social media just because, you know, it's social media, it's out there for everyone to see, so you're not going to post something on social media that could get you in trouble.
I mean, the thing that, and why I kind of asked that is because people, even with guns, young age, posting on social media.
Oh, I've seen people post on social media.
Okay,
yes.
like just everything. I'm like,
on like, especially like Snapchat, because your stories are gone after 24 hours. If you see people posting, most of the time, at least in my experience, if people are posting themselves JUUling alone, most of the time, it's solely for the purpose for other people to know, like, hey, like, I'm doing this, like, look how cool this, you know what I mean? Like, and it sounds dumb. It sounds dumb pointing it out like that, but that's kind of how it is. Yeah. Because if someone's posting that on social media, it is for the sole purpose for other people to see, because it's social media. Okay. So,
so with technology, you can pretty much do anything from social media, having that social pressure and everything, although, you know, of course, they don't want to post that anything illegal, you know, to get caught or whatever. But there is some social media aspects, of course, the social pressure at school and everything, with friends and social pressures, but for research also. So me personally, I feel like they would go right to social pressures before research. I guess because it's more like the thing, it's more the trend, it's more like how do my friends think, etc. So they would do that instead of researching the dangers of JUULing. So what would be your thing on that?
I feel like most teenagers know. Like, if you're putting something into your lungs, you obviously know it's not oxygen, it's not good for you. It's not supposed to be in there. It's made clear everywhere. There's signs up at my school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's obviously a problem at every school right now, but Manual specifically, it's not as much of a problem as a lot of the other high schools in Louisville. But everyone knows that it is not a good thing to do. It is not healthy for you. But definitely with the social pressures, people aren't really going to look into research as much unless you're really worried about it. But most of the time, it's just, I know this is bad for me, but I'm not going to do it to the point I get addicted. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But a lot of times, if you own one, you end up getting there.
Okay. So the argument of, hey, this is fruity, that's like the only thing, like, you're saying that people don't just think, oh, it's fruity, it's cool, you know, like they don't think.
People know it's bad for you.
People know it's bad for you.
Teenagers, like, they do stupid things, but we're not stupid enough to the point.
Okay. Because some people think that, so I'm like, I just need to. Okay.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. So, do you feel like the youth? Yeah. I mean, yeah. Okay. So I would definitely, at first, my friends will point out to me the most than just going and researching. It's just the natural instinct I feel for teenagers, but that's just me. So I know that this is very, very weird, but the thing is 60% of kids believe that pods used for JUULs were nicotine free, but actually 99% of the projects contain nicotine, like you said.
Absolutely, yes.
So that's bizarre. But I know it's a bit weird, but if you were a parent, what would you say to your kid about JUULing? From your opinion, you know.
Probably, I kind of have the standpoint that my parents have about things, where it's like, you are going to be offered things, stuff's going to happen, and it's like, don't do it, but it's like, ask us about anything. You know what I mean? Like, if you have concerns, if something's happening, like, it's been very clear, like, made with me from my parents, if you're at a party and something's going down and you don't know what it is, you just text us and ask what it is. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I wouldn't have this standpoint where I'm just sitting there like, if you do this, you're going to get punished for life, because if you're that strict, your kids aren't going to tell you anything. And that's where I kind of believe I'm going to make sure, like, I don't know if it's still going to be a thing by the time I have kids or anything, but if it were how it is right now, when I have a kid, it'll just be, this is really bad for you, it is illegal, and obviously if they do it, they will get in trouble, just because it's not good for you, it's horrible for your health. But I'm going to make sure, instead of just saying that and cutting it off, I want to make sure they can, like, talk to me about when they are peer pressured, or, like, can ask me questions about why, like, you know, like, why it's bad for you and stuff. Like, just make sure that they're informed to where they won't want to do it on their own.
Okay. So, would you personally educate your child on why this is bad? Because I know that you're not like that forceful, strict parent of like, give me this, you're not doing anything. Yeah. Like, you're not that type of person. You're not, that's not your lifestyle, you know, et cetera, what you believe. So, you would basically just talk to them, have that safe environment.
It'd be a conversation. Yeah, it'd be a safe environment conversation.
But you would educate them during the process.
Exactly. It'd just be more of because I'm around it all the time. I mean, I go to parties, I go to friends' houses, or I go to school. Like, I go to school and I see it happen. And my parents aren't like, oh, like, that happens at that place, we're going to take you out of that place. Like, because you can't be that sheltered. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's just
it's
life.
It's not the real world.
Yeah, that's
so I'm not going to be, like, if I know my, like, child's friends do it, I'm going to trust my kid that they won't, because I would have educated them until, obviously, like, if they were to break that trust, that'd be different.
Yeah.
But until, I'm going to trust my child with the information I've given them.
Yeah. Okay. But just going down the list, with educating, I'm seeing a ton of dangerous things when it comes to JUULing, just in general. Like, one pod contains as much nicotine as a pack of cigarettes. And I was like, what?
Yeah, it contains a lot.
I didn't understand because when JUULing first came out, I never JUULed before or ever or whatever. I wasn't even concerned with the trend or whatever. But when it came out, all I heard was like it's fruity and whatever. So it wasn't even a big deal. But then I saw this and I was researching. I'm like, really? That's really the. So that kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
But some other effects would be like negative impacts of brain development. Having like at such a young age.
Oh yeah.
It like affect your brain development in such a negative way. It's just not. It's not okay. It's not. That shouldn't be happening. That shouldn't be happening when you wrap your brain around it. But there are some side effects such as increased heart rate, blood pressure, and this even links to cancer.
I don't doubt it.
Like, it's just amazing.
Especially in kids this young, like, linking it to like people I know.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend who, and he was very addicted. Like he was very addicted to it. And as you said, like pods contain the same
like
amount
a whole
of, yeah,
cigarette.
exactly.
Yeah.
But and most of the time you don't, like from what I know, you don't go through like a pod every time you use it. You know what I mean? Like that lasts a while.
Okay.
But it could easily not if you're that addicted to it. You know what I mean? Like you could easily, it could just be going and going and going. And to one of my friends that happened, and he plays football and lacrosse.
Mm-hmm.
So he literally like, they think it was because of JUULing. Obviously they don't know for sure, but he had to end up doing like breathing treatments like with a mask and stuff because he could not, he had like moisture in his lungs, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he had to do breathing treatments, and it's because he played like sports and he could not breathe during the sports, and we're too young to put that on our bodies that are still developing. You know what I mean? Especially that much with how addicted he was.
Most definitely. I wonder how it'd feel with like a non-athlete. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like it'd still be not
absolutely.
that intense, because of the activeness and everything.
Exactly,
It wouldn't be the exact same, but I feel like it definitely have a huge impact.
Bottom line, we're kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just not good for a developing body. That's why there's an age limit on things, like on alcohol and vapes. It's like there's an age limit for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And there was a decline in smoking, even like a plain line with smoking, but then this whole thing, academic, is like trashing that and reversing it. To where JUULing has nicotine, and so it's getting to our kids is easily accessible, and that's very wow. It's just wild, because I haven't really even thought about like e-cigarettes, before even considering JUULing. So it's a big common trend that's just bringing this back up. So. With JUULing, it's easy to conceal with the fact in order to consume it. But do you believe that kids who use nicotine earlier are more likely to fall in love with drugs later on?
I know a lot of my friends who have kind of gone down the trend of like, I only JUUL, like it's not that bad, and then they kind of get to where it's like, yeah, like I JUUL and then I kind of like, like smoked weed or something, and it's not that bad. I'm not gonna say that if you pick up a JUUL, you're going to do like cocaine. Like I'm not gonna bring it that far.
Okay, you're not gonna legislate, yeah.
If you are willing, especially if it's social pressure, if you are willing to pick up and put something in your body like that at this young of an age, then yeah, like it just kind of shows that you are the type of person that would maybe be willing to do more to look cool. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not really the brand, like it's not really JUUL, like it's not like their thing that it's not like if you pick one of those things up it's going to lead you to doing something horrible. But if you're the type of person that would pick something like that up, it's more likely than someone who says no to something like JUULing. It's more likely that they'll say no to cocaine. But if someone who would pick up a JUUL, that kind of makes them more likely to continue that trend.
Yes.
But I think it's more of the type of person and not the first action.
Okay. Because I heard it was like really addictive, but does that really depend?
I mean, it depends on how much you do it and how much you let yourself do it. From one of my really close friends' experience, they had one, or they didn't have one. They tried one and was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not going to get one because that's too far.
Mm-hmm.
But then they tried more and then did it with their friends and then got to the point they were doing it a lot and then bought one. And then now it's like, especially like losing money, like that's a lot of money. Those like things cost a lot of money. A pot is like $5.
Oh wow.
So it's ranging from
Yeah.
5 higher. So it's just
Oh
it's
my
a lot of
goodness.
money you're losing too, but definitely like you don't find yourself getting addicted and you might not know it until you are. And that's what can get scary about it.
Okay, got it. But the more you use it, the more you're attracted to it. I automatically just think that. But so speaking on the older you get, of course there's like a, so to speak, age limit. But the thing is, it's like easily accessible, so almost anyone can get it. But do you feel like that's kind of rebellious? It's kind of a rebellious act, so to speak. Not like the main thing, like why people like under the age limit is using it, but just
I think that's why it makes people think they look cool, kind of. And I hate to say it like that because I know a lot of people who do it and it's not like they're sitting there
not
like
the main
saying
reason.
like, oh, like I want to like yeah, this makes me look so cool. Like we know it's not exactly, I can't think of to lack of a better phrase, to look cool. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely, it's easily accessible, and it's, I guess rebellious in a way, just because you're doing something underage that you're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And that's obviously kind of a trend.
Yeah, no, posting on social media and everything,
Yeah, like, it's just kind of like, ooh, like sneaking around type thing, and it makes people,
Yeah, because I imagine if I'm, like 15 and I have people like upperclassmen, college students, if I have people older than me, of course, in the trend of JUULing and everything, that I would maybe want to be persuaded. But I personally have never really been persuaded of JUULing. I just don't do it. I don't really care. But yeah, it's just up to, it's just.
It really depends on the individual.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it's mainly the people who feel like care about what other people think a lot. That
It's up to you to make that choice.
Yeah, it's up to you to make that decision, and if you choose not to, honestly, I respect the people who are surrounded by people doing it and choose not to. I respect those people more, but that's just my personality. A lot of people would be like, that's lame. Like, I've been called lame for not doing it before.
Oh,
and it's like, I don't care. You know what I mean? It's like, and that's my personality, that I don't really care what people think. I care about my own body more than I care about some other person's opinion.
Yeah, if you care like a ton more than your body about what other people think,
that's more
something
of a personal,
that's a personal issue you really need to figure out, because that's just not okay, especially in this society. So of course, peer pressure, social pressure in the environment, and how safe you are in the environment definitely plays a role. So there was this movement, Tobacco 12 movement, basically getting parents together to say, hey, we need to stop this from JUULing because of the JUULing basically reversing our progress on smoking, cigarettes, etc. It's like, hey, this is not cool, we need to stop it. And there's different, so far, actually 6 states have adapted to these certain laws. But before I talk about some of these solutions, are there some maybe that you want to put out there about the epidemic?
Something that I think is really just like kind of misunderstood about it is that it's not really, obviously like, I don't subscribe to doing it, but it's not really the brand's fault in a way. They're making a product and they're selling it. You know what I mean? Like alcohol.
Like it's all about business.
Right, it's business. Like alcohol companies, they make the product and they sell it. Yeah. And they give it, like the JUULs, it's to gas stations. It's to whatever stores carry them. I know a lot about gas stations. Yeah. So it's not really the brand that is messy. It's the accessibility that somehow, like, I know a lot of people, there's gas stations around where you go up and they'll sell it to you for a bit, like, it's business, you know what I mean? Like, they want to make some money, they'll sell it to you. and underage, and that's not on JUUL itself, and especially not on, like, vaping was originally made. It's obviously not a good thing to do, but it was made as a better than smoking. It's to get you off of smoking. So I think what's happened, like the epidemic has put a lot of like negative like connotation on e-cigs in general, which obviously they're not good for you, but it was made as a way to get people to stop smoking cigarettes, which has worked. Because I really don't see that many people, there's obviously still people, but that smoke cigarettes much anymore. So it worked, but this epidemic, and especially with like specifically like JUULing in general, has really made it look horrible. You know what I mean? And obviously, if you were not a smoker, you shouldn't have an e-cig. It's just how it should be, because that was why they were made. But you don't just pick up a JUUL just to do it, especially not underage, and that's why it's bad now, is because of the underage and because you're picking it up just to do it. And that's what makes it bad, not the companies and the thing in general.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, wow. Okay. I learned a lot today. So some solutions that I have, of course, for the parents, of course you can add on to this if you have any say. Number one, educating yourself. So not only educating, your child, but just educating on yourself about like what is JUULing, etc., and setting that role model stance on what you believe, and of course talking and communicating with them. Of course, be a role model and establish a safe environment, because teens in general, I pretty much know, at least for the most part, that the environment is the number one thing that you should watch out for.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a safe environment, if you can't talk to anybody, that's not going to help the situation at all. You can't be too busy. You can't be like, you have to communicate with your child. So getting something to read, giving them something to read. So for the parents, I would say grab articles, research, and go ahead and show them to the child and educate them on what you found. Because people learn differently, but I personally is like, hey, I found the article, I found some things that would help. So just read them on your own time, or we can definitely talk about it if you need to, or we can read it together. It's your choice. And you need to listen and not judge necessarily, because if you judge, then they're just basically going to shut down. You need to know how to handle the situation. You need to know that you need to listen to what they have to say, what they need to say about the situation in general, and especially how you brought up how you need that environment, and you need to say, hey, is anyone socially pressuring you? Is anybody at school doing anything to say, hey, hit this, you just don't know, but they're socially pressuring you,
Exactly.
Yeah, you just need to give them that environment. But other than that, that's pretty much JUULing for you. But do you have anything to say to the audience?
Okay, as I said before, like, vaping is different than JUULing, obviously, but don't pick it up just to do it. Like, I don't want to go on some like speech or anything, but it's not good for your health, obviously. And if you feel pressured to do it just because your friends do it, or just because you're going to get made fun of if you don't do it, it's not worth it. Like, have more self-confidence in that, and like, obviously stay safe with anything you're going to do, but overall just only do things that you're comfortable with. And if you're surrounded by people who are going to make fun of you for not doing something, you're not surrounded by the correct people. So that's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Matter of Interpretations, America in Crisis, with your teen host, Sydney Tucker. And thank you so much for listening. This has been Our Efforts plus God's Grace.